Okay, and welcome back to Continue Freedom. If this is your first time here, welcome aboard. If you're a returning guest, I want to thank you so much because you all are the ones that are making this happen. But if you're a returning guest or a new guest and you haven't done so, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, the notification bell. Leave comments below. I'm going to have a question for you guys about this particular topic, and it's going to be important. It's important to get your all's opinion on this because it is a big deal. It's a pretty big deal. But this is from the Post Millennial, a source that I use a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and give them a shout out because it's great. I subscribe to them and they're fantastic. But anyway, during a Tuesday press conference, this is, I think, last Tuesday, but President-elect Donald Trump would not rule out military or economic coercion in order to gain control of the Panama Canal or Greenland. A reporter asked him, and they said, can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you're not going to use military or economic coercion? And what was Donald Trump's response? No, I can't assure you of either of those two, but I can say this. We need them for economic security. It might be that you'll have to do something. Now, do I think that he's going to drop the 82nd Airborne into Greenland? No, absolutely not. But this is the guy who wrote The Art of the Deal. This is a guy who he's thumping his chest. He's making some bold claims. And in the end, he's going to deliver a proposal to Greenland and to the Panamanians and say, here's your options. And they're going to say, wow, this isn't half bad. Or they're going to say, this is your offer, but here's my response. Here's my counteroffer. And he'll say, fine. Or there will be negotiations. And in the end, it will be a mutually beneficial situation for either is it Greenlandians or Greenlanders? I don't know. I don't know what the term for them is. But let's talk real quick about Greenland. We'll hit that one first, then we'll go to the Panama Canal. Greenland is not what we normally think of from our high school and junior high geography classes. This is, if you don't know about the Mercator projection, it doesn't depict. It's what we normally see in elementary school and junior high and high school and college. They show the Mercator projection, which shows countries closer to the poles significantly larger than they actually are. And this is just taking a globe, and you take a sphere and you flatten it out. The things that are towards each pole become significantly larger. So if you look at the light blue colors, this is what you normally see. I've seen this on social media, which is why I'm bringing it up. People see Greenland and they say this monstrous country, this huge swath of land that Donald Trump is going to take over. Well, it's not nearly as large as we're led to believe, but this is simply, it was a navigation thing. This dates all the way back to literally the 1500s, the Mercator projection, because it's better for navigation, going point to point and all that sort of thing. So don't look at it as actually to scale. Same thing with Russia. You could look at Russia. It's a big country, yeah, no doubt, but it's not nearly as large as it's shown on the maps. But Greenland is about a quarter the size of the U.S. Okay, so it's about this. You could take 48 of our states, our smaller states, and put them all into one. We've got some big states. We've got Alaska, we've got Texas and California, and some huge swaths of land. But it's only got 55,000 people living in that country. 55,000. I live in a small town in East Tennessee, and we are on the border with another town, and we kind of consider ourselves one town more or less, even though we're in two separate states. And we outnumber the people in Greenland. So this is not a huge number of people. And I should point out, if you're a left-leaning person who hates colonialism, Greenland is colonized by the Kingdom of Denmark. The Kingdom of Denmark controls Greenland. And these folks have self-governance. They've had self-governance for a while, so they can vote to leave Denmark. And I would ask you folks, if you're on the left, if Greenland votes and says, we want to leave Denmark and become part of the U.S., whether that's as a territory or another state, whatever that agreement becomes, whatever Donald Trump negotiates, would you have an issue with that? It's not like, again, we're not dropping the 82nd Airborne or the 101st or the 25th, one of my alma maters, one of my old units. We're not dropping these people into into Greenland to take it over. They have an option, and if they take that option, is that necessarily a bad thing? Let's look at some of the resources. They have oil, natural gas, rare earth elements. They have neodymium, they have lithium, uranium, iron, zinc, lead, gold, precious metals. They have a lot of stuff that is valuable, not just for the sheer value of something like gold. Gold, fine, yeah, it holds a lot of value. But gold and silver and these precious metals are used in your renewable energy supply. If you want to talk about batteries, Tesla, you want to talk about the need for lithium-ion batteries and lithium polymer batteries and all these other things. These components, these rare earth elements, are in huge numbers or huge quantities in Greenland. If you're a renewable energy person and think it's not going to fix our problems, but we can have that conversation at another time. And they've got oil and natural gas, but above and beyond that, they're also strategically located. I've actually stopped in Greenland once, and it was when I was going, and I never remember if it was my first deployment to Afghanistan or if it was when I was going to Iraq. We actually stopped in Greenland to refuel our aircraft. And it's because it's the short hop from North America over to Europe. It's the shortest hop from North America to Europe. We flew into Greenland. We never got off the plane, that sort of thing. There was a snowstorm, as there is often in Greenland, which is why it hasn't been excavated. The rare earth elements have not been excavated, or the natural gas or oil have not been drilled or mined, because it is a harsh environment. But on a different note, it is strategic in our defense, in the defense of our country. Early warning systems can be placed in Greenland to alert us of ICBMs coming from Russia or other countries. This is a big deal. It's a huge deal. Right now, it's basically a 55,000 person country full of fishermen. Their key exports are shrimp, cod, halibut, other fish products. That's the majority of their revenue. There's some tourism that wants to come to, or that flows through Greenland, but people are acting like Donald Trump is some colonizer, or that he's some globalist. He's a hidden globalist. And that's the question I have for you. Is this Trump being a globalist or a conqueror? Or is this Trump making very, very smart strategic moves in defense of our country? The Panama Canal, that's the next one that we're going to talk about. Well, actually, before I get into that one, I have to let you know that the Danish Prime Minister is not too happy about Donald Trump's proposal. They said Greenland is not for sale. And to that I say, the people of Greenland get to make that decision. If they want to become MAGA, if they want to become American, if they want to get on board with Donald Trump, and several of them have made posts on social media saying that, yes, that's exactly what we want. Like, fine, the Danish folks don't do anything for us. The Danes, I guess it's the Danes. They don't do anything for us. They aren't really helping us. We're 55,000 people, and most of our exports are fish. We're sending out shrimp and cod. Meanwhile, we're this rich country. The Danes aren't doing anything to help us with that. So maybe America can. It's an interesting question, but the Danish PM says we're not giving it up. And well, you know what? They are able to govern themselves. They have self-governance. They can make their own decisions. So I say to that one, whoop-de-doo. Stop getting bent out of shape about it, because it's not up to you, Danes. All right, the next one is the Panama Canal. Let me minimize some of these because we don't need to be looking at that. So the Panama Canal, this is a lot of history to go into. I'm not going to get super deep into it, but you can see the red marker there. That's where it is. If we didn't have the Panama Canal, shipping, if you wanted to ship something from New York to LA, you would have to go from New York all the way around South America and back up to Los Angeles. This is thousands and thousands of miles. And they recognize this very, very early, actually. They recognized this, I believe it was in pre-Columbian time. They understood that this is a pretty narrow gap, a pretty narrow area where we could access one ocean or move from one ocean to the other pretty quickly. But this has moved into the 1800s as the first time any actual action was taken. And it was in the 1880s. So it was 1881 to 1889. The same engineer who built the Suez Canal attempted a sea-level canal from 1881 to 1889. This is a French guy, and he couldn't make it happen. Disease, heavy rain, all that stuff stopped the project and bankrupt the company. Now, what does sea level to sea level mean? It means just that in between Pacific and Atlantic, there's a lot of terrain. And that terrain means you have to dig away all that terrain so that it is perfectly sea level all the way across and then some, because you have to think about the draft of the ships that are going to be moving, and the movement of the oceans is going to create silt deposits and all that. So you have to keep a very, very deep canal to move a ship from one side to the other. They abandoned it because it was just too much. We bought it. We bought the rights to that contract under Teddy Roosevelt, and we paid $40 million for it, and we built it. And that's when we decided to use locks, because it's much easier to build a lock than it is to dig away, hundreds and thousands of feet of ground. And we can use the lock system to raise ships up, move them across, lower them back down, and deposit them in the next ocean. And whether you're moving east or west, well, technically it's north or south, but nonetheless, this is the endeavor that cost 5,609 lives on our side. When the French tried to do it, it cost them 22,000 lives. So we spent $40 million for the rights. We spent all the money, put all the effort into building the Panama Canal, and we held it for a very, very long time. The Panamanians they get money off of it. We got money off of it. It helped trade. It sped up the trade process, prevented ships from having to go all the way around the southern tip of South America. And but then in 1977, Jimmy Carter made the brilliant decision that, we ought to just give this canal, this strategically important, not just for trade, but also for our militaries. We can move aircraft carriers, or we could move battleships, or we could move whatever from, I don't know if it'll carry, I don't know if the canal will actually handle aircraft carriers, but we can move our naval vessels, we can move our supply vessels, our commerce, all of these things through it. It's monstrously important. And he said, you know what? I know that we were the ones that took the risk. We made it happen. We have this engineering marvel of the Panama Canal. And so we're going to hand it over to the Panamanians. And we're going to start in 77, and eventually in 1999, we're going to have the Panamanians will have full control. This third world country, this third-rate country, will have full control over the Panama Canal, one of the most critical pieces of infrastructure, or critical pieces of oceanic commerce. They're going to control it. And this same third-rate country is then going to be opened up to the manipulation by countries like China, which is what Donald Trump keeps referencing. And he said that there were, Chinese soldiers in the Panama Canal. The Panamanians deny that. I don't know one way or another, but the problem is, it's not just that they can be manipulated by China, because China is manipulating a lot of people. China controls ports in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Greece, Peru. They're buying them up. They own a lot of ports outside of China in other countries. This seems like a protectionist move by Donald Trump to say, yeah, they're buying up a lot of ports. What would happen if China does grab a hold of the Panama Canal? They could shut down U.S. commerce in an instant because it's theirs. And because Jimmy Carter gave it to the Panamanians, they're in it to make a buck. These are third world countries. These are places that are corruption is part of the culture, whether it's South America or Africa or the Middle East. Other than the United States, we have a lot of corruption. Don't get me wrong. It's in the government and all that. It's a different version of it. But yeah, they're just up for whoever's going to give them the most money off the top. China would be willing to do that if they could shut down the U.S. commerce. So do I think that this is Donald Trump? Do I think that it's him being a globalist or expanding U.S. power? No, this is protectionist. Donald Trump is not about war. He's not about projecting the U.S. He's about protecting the U.S. And I think that Greenland is a key component of that. I think that the Panama Canal is a key component of that. So, people can whoop and holler about Donald Trump, oh, he's a globalist. He's a hidden globalist. No, I don't agree with that. And if my buddy who sent me the podcast on that sees this one, I love you, man. But I just don't buy into it. I really don't. I just don't think his motivations are there. So I shouldn't have made that side reference. A friend of mine, he sent me a podcast of a guy who said that Donald Trump is just a closeted globalist and that sort of thing. And I could get, you could I don't know. That's an argument for another day. But I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that in his messaging or in any of his policy prescriptions, any of that stuff. And they mentioned specifically Greenland and the Panama Canal. And I'm like, this is protectionist. That's not globalist. This is saying these folks are, these countries or these pieces of infrastructure have a huge impact on our ability to operate, and they could be shut down if they are controlled by a foreign entity who does not, hold our shared values, who is an enemy to us, which China is, which Russia is. So anyway, that's my thought. I would love to have your all's thoughts. Do you think he's being a globalist, or do you think that this is just a smart strategic move? So the next thing I want to talk about the fires going on in the Palisades right now. So this is a photo of the Pacific Palisades. I'm sure you all have seen the videos. You've seen it in the news that California is absolutely burning to the ground. And on top of that, so that's the devastation. Sad. Very, very sad. But in the midst of this, we've got the LA Fire Department funding, which had been cut by Mayor Karen Bass by almost $18 million. And they're saying that this directly relates to their inability to control this fire. They have zero containment of this fire. Zero. None. No containment of this fire. They have fire hydrants that are running out of water. And this is from a couple of days ago, and it continues. Or this is from a day ago, and it continues. But Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is facing criticism after it was revealed that she cut $17.6 million from the city's fire department budget for the 2024-25 fiscal year. The reduction, the second largest cut in the budget, has initially been proposed at $23 million, according to a report by the New York Post. LA City Controller Kenneth Meha noted the budget cuts in October, with a graphic shared by the official showed the $17.6 million cut to the fire department budget, which was only outdone by a $21.4 million cut to street services, according to Newsweek. Bass had wanted to cut more. She had proposed a $12.8 billion cut in the city's budget for this year. But what are they focused on? So she's not spending money on fire departments, and I've seen this in small towns. So, when things are tight, I guess, and California's losing people left and right, you got to make some cuts. Where did they cut? They cut the fire department. Well, they cut certain parts of the fire department. What did they spend money on? A great deal of money on? Well, these are the people that are leading the fire department right now. I'm going to go ahead and let this just sit here and just let you take a peek at this. Let me know what you think of the folks running the fire department. What could be an issue here? This is the DEI program at its absolute worst. There's videos out here now. I've watched tons of them, where they're saying that DEI in firefighting is what's really important. In fact, I'm going to show you one. Let me show you a video of one of these individuals where they were talking about, what's really important? It's not about fighting fires. It's about equity. Oops. Okay, now I've got it right. Let's do this.
Part of that work means speaking up for those who can't. Over the last few years, LAFD has dealt with a fair share of controversy, and Larson not afraid to sound the alarm.
I chose to speak out pretty much by myself about the issues of sexism and racism within my department and the need for change. I don't think there's any question that our department is the best at fighting fires. We do it better than anybody in the world. But when it comes to the personnel side, we have some issues, and they're not insurmountable, but they need to be addressed and fixed.
And the personnel issues that this person, whatever, is referring to is that they've only got, I think it was 5% or 10%. I should have put that in my notes. But nonetheless, it was 5 or 10% of the firefighters are female. Well, when you have to carry heavy hoses, when you're having to use hooligan tools to break into buildings, when you're trying to vent roofs, when you're trying to rescue people, pull 150, 200 pound people out of burning buildings. Women are not good at that. Sorry, but you're not. Women aren't built for that. This is this whole dilution of biology, of the biological differences between men and women. So they're saying what's really important, our biggest problem, it's not about our ability to fight fires, which we obviously can't do, has now been proven. But it's that, we need more men dressed as women. We need more women and this woman was lauded, the one on the far left, who's the fire chief, because she likes to sleep with other women, because other women have access to her private parts. That's the most important thing. Because there's genitally androgynous people, like the person on the right, that's the most important thing, that we have more of that, not people that can carry heavy hoses, that can keep the water systems and the fire hydrants fueled and ready to go, filled with plenty of pressure to fight the fires that California is known for. No, it's more important that we focus on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is what's important. And we're failing because we're not focused more on that. Do you all see the lunacy behind this? I hope you do. Other people are seeing it, and it's not just the fire department. The insurance companies. This is from James Woods. He said, actually, one of the major insurance companies canceled all the policies in our neighborhood. He lost his house about 4 months ago. So we heard Donald Trump. Donald Trump was talking about this. He said, California, he said it way back when he did the Joe Rogan podcast before the election. Donald Trump said, California is just fit to burn. It's ready to burn because they aren't managing the undergrowth. They aren't keeping the hydrants, and they aren't keeping the water supply moving, all because of a fish, a kelp or whatever it is. I don't even remember what it was. Listen to this. He said this months ago when he was on Joe Rogan.
We have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why don't you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north of water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. I could have water for all of that land, water for your forests. Your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. And all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves, get rid of, leaves that are sitting there for 5 years. And
we'll certainly get rid of the dead fall.
And get rid of the trees that are fallen that are
Okay. Donald Trump he's not an environmentalist necessarily. He's not an ecologist. He's not a firefighting expert, but he is smart enough to know, which Gavin Newsom is not, the leadership in California is not, to know that dead growth on the ground, uncontrolled undergrowth, this is why everybody else does it. You burn that undergrowth before it gets too large, before it has a chance to die, and then it becomes a tinderbox, which is what we're seeing now. But no, they don't spend their money on that. They're more worried about hiring genitally androgynous people to lead their fire department than they are about actually hiring people and training people that can actually fight fires. This is leftist politics 101. This is the problem. Now, Steve, is it Steve Carell? Oh, what was his name? I thought I had that video. Let me see if I've got it here. No, it was Adam Corolla. That's who it was. I don't know why I was saying Steve Carell. Steve Carell's from The Office. No. Adam Corolla. He came out and had a very interesting take on this situation. There is language in here. I apologize. He's an unfiltered comedian. It's fine. But he makes very, very, very good points. So if you got kids around, earmuff them if you don't want them to hear bad words.
The guys who lost their $20 million homes on the ocean side of PCH will be knee-deep in the permit process. They will be trying to pull permits when the guys in the Winnebagos will have been back for months before those guys ever get a permit. As a matter of fact, good fucking luck. Because here's the deal. Alan Hamel and Suzanne Summers moved. because they could not get a permit to rebuild their home of 40 years on the ocean on PCH, right? So here's what's going to happen. Let me just give you guys a little primer of what's going to happen. You know how Bill Maher seems real conservative now when he's like arguing with Jane Fonda about regulations, too many regulations, like strangling everything? Because remember, when Bill Maher tried to put solar in his house in Beverly Hills, that's when he turned against the government, because he saw what the government and the overreach of government and overregulation does. He got strangled. It took him 3 years to build a solar shack. He had a whole countdown on his show, you know, day 1,000 since I've got my permit for my solar. He turned. Okay. The people who live in Malibu, who live in Santa Monica, who live in the Palisades, those are some of the most progressive blue voters in the world, or in the United States. They are a bastion of blue. So what those guys did is, all the people in the Palisades, I checked it out. It's about 80% blue, 80% progressive, 80% Democrat. Now, these pussies are all sitting around crying about Karen Bass, water pressure, how come the forest wasn't cleared of all the brush, what's happening with the infrastructure. You guys all voted for Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. You all voted for Gavin Newsom. And now you fucking get what you get. Oh, now that your house is on fire, well, now you're thinking about something else. Now you want to know what's going on. What's going on around here? You didn't give a shit about what was going on when other people's houses were on fire, but now you care. So here's what's going to happen. All these people who were deep blue Democrats are now going to have to pull a permit to rebuild. And they're going to get the 28-year-old bitch from the Coastal Commission telling them to go fuck off. And then they're going to vote for Trump or whoever's Trumpian next. You see, they're going to get turned. They're going to get turned hard because, as I've always said, live in the rent control apartment in Santa Monica, fine, good. We know how you vote. Go deal with the city. Try to pull a permit. These are going to be thousands of homes, super wealthy people, and these people don't want to live in Van Nuys. They like it where they are. They love Malibu. They love the Palisades. They love Santa Monica. There's going to be a whole bunch of rich people, and they're going to go, I'm rebuilding, and I want to rebuild as fast as I can. And between the part where they go in to planning commission and plan check and initially and try to pull a permit to the time the first load of lumber, the first load of 2x4s is dropped off on their lot where their house formerly stood, it's going to be 3 years. And
I mean, this is a very, very, very good point. He's there. He's a rich guy. He's not bought into the woke left, but everybody in the Pacific Palisades, their houses are multi-million-dollar houses. These are rich, rich, rich people living in a rich part of California. They want to rebuild. And what's going to happen? They're going to run into the bureaucracy that they have been voting for probably most of their entire lives. That they're going on social media and whooping and hollering about. Oh, yeah, Gavin Newsom. Oh, yeah, it's the diversity of Karen Bass. And then they're going to meet the bureaucrat in white tennis shoes that represents their party, and they're going to say, whoa, I can't even build a house? You're telling me that I'm going to put in a permit, and I'm not going to get the first load of lumber dropped off to build my house back that was just destroyed for 3 years? I think this is going to have some far-reaching implications. It's probably going to cause some version of a rich person exodus out of California, out of the Palisades. Now, we could go into the conspiracy theories as to whether or not that's intentional. But I thought this was a great point. I'm sorry for the language, for those folks that don't like the language, but I thought he made such a great point that this is now the rich people. They sit on these are the ones that had the green lawns that were watering their lawns during the droughts of California. Now their stuff's burned to the ground because of the governor they voted for, because of the mayor they voted for, because of the party that they've been supporting, because of the ones that they're out here retweeting or, well, re-Xing, I don't even know what the term is, whooping and hollering about on their social media accounts. Oh, the Democrat Party, the Democrat Party. Now they get to really face the Democrat Party, where it is in full swing, full power, one-party control. That's in California. You ain't going to be living in the Palisades. Move somewhere else, at least for the next 3 or 4 years until you can get your house rebuilt. Oh, I saw that and I was like, that is a great point. He said it perfectly. Perfectly. All right, so incompetence, that's just part of the game. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and show this one. If you want to see about how this is being covered, this is what I'll end on because it's kind of funny, to be honest. The vanity of the media. You know, everybody's been talking, this is climate change, it's climate change, it's climate change, which I think is a very interesting scapegoat when there's failed policies like we were just discussing. California not keeping up with their undergrowth, California not filling their reservoirs, not building additional reservoirs, putting the infrastructure in place to fight the wildfires that they have every single year. It's like this self-licking ice cream cone of stupidity. But this is the guy that's covering it. ABC News in his little, his fancy little firefighter coat. Check this out. This is David Muir, by the way. This is the same guy who was, and there it is. I don't think I can zoom in on that. This is the same guy who was moderating the presidential debate, who was fact-checking Donald Trump, but not fact-checking Joe Biden. And if you look back here, Donald Trump Jr. posted this. He put clothespins on his jacket to make it more form-fitting. How fitting, how much more of a narcissist. Oh, there it is. They zoomed in. Look at that. He said, this isn't form-fitting enough for me. The narcissist on TV. So get me some clothespins. Golly. Wow. What a bunch of vapid people. I think that's the right word. Narcissistic, vapid, empty-headed people. Here you are in the midst of a disaster and you're worried about how slim-fitting your fireman coat is. This is why we have real men, by the way. The real firefighters, the real men firefighters, the ones that are building our infrastructure, the ones that are keeping things running in this country. Because this is not a real man. This is not a real man. This is a weak beta narcissist, and this is what it infuriates me. I hope you can hear the tone of my voice because I get so tired of these empty heads on social media, these empty heads in the media. While people are suffering around them, and what's he worried about? Hair gel and clothespins so that his fake firefighter jacket looks slim-fitting. Huh. It's kind of funny, but I mean, at the same time, these are the people where a lot of Americans are getting their information, and that shouldn't be the case. All right. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and close out. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're still here, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, leave comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want me to talk about. If you have suggestions on what you would like to hear, let me know, and I will research it. I will give you the information, and together as a community, we're going to fight against this wokeism and all the silliness that goes on in the world. God bless you. God bless America, and I will see you in the next video.